Well, was going to start working ground yesterday and ran into an issue. I was going to moldboard this field back here behind the house, and so I got the plow, put on the 1800 and go out there and start my first furrow, and I'll be damned if the plow won't even go in the ground. It's so freaking hard. Alright, plan B. So I get the chisel plow put back on the 1955, and I picked the gauge wheels up as far as they'll go, and head off across the field, and I'll be damned if the chisel plow won't go on the ground. At first, I'd set it on the ground and it'd go a little while, and eventually it'd find a spot soft enough and the plow would suck in. And I shit you not, there are spots back there so hard, I have to go until the plow will go in the ground, and then turn around and use that soft spot as my starting point and go the other way to try to break up this hard pan. I have never seen this ground this hard. Granted, we haven't had hardly any rain, so it's dry to begin with, which doesn't help. You don't want to work ground when it's soaking wet, but it's nice to have a little bit of moisture. But these points, I haven't flipped them since I put them on here, and they've probably pushing 100 acres, probably a little bit more than that. So it's time to flip them. I'm going to see if this helps any. Yeah, they probably actually ran more than that. Probably pushing 200 acres on them now. But and I'm working the dog shit out of this poor tractor. Well, when I'm plowing, I can only see about this much of the point. So that means I'm in the ground from here to here. Well, while I get these things flipped, we'll walk out there real quick and measure them. I'm actually kind of curious to know just how deep I'm going. I can't believe I'm actually pulling it. Normally I pull this in third direct. Right now I'm in as deep as I'm going. I can only pull it in second direct, and to break up this hard pan, I don't even have a depth set on my quadrant. I just run it as deep as I can and physically pull it, and I'm constantly working the lever because I'd like to break up some of this compaction, which it's kind of nice. Ground with moisture in it will plow easier, but plowing dry ground is better for breaking up compaction because there's no give in it from lack of moisture, and it fractures better. So that's kind of why I'm running so deep. There's times like this, and I think after this year, I found out two things. One, I'd really like to invest in a 2 or a 3 shank ripper. What I'd really like to find is a 5 shank Hanover First Zone Builder, a junk one that's got some decent parts left on it, and cut the frame down and make it a 2 shank, because I know I'll have enough horsepower to pull that. And then also went to go chisel plow corn stalks yesterday, and we ran into this problem a little bit last year, but not a whole lot, since I didn't get a whole lot of fall plowing done because of the weather. But when I was still planting wide row or 38-inch row corn, trash wasn't really an issue with this plow. It's not what they consider a high clearance chisel plow, so it wasn't really meant to deal with a lot of trash. But when I switched to 30-inch rows, there's so much trash now that the plow plugs up, which this year I'm going to solve the problem. I got Morley's going to bring out a disc chisel to his farm and let me borrow that. So, and I've actually wanted a disc chisel for a while, because what I'd like to do is set that up for plowing corn stalks. Huh. Anybody need a piece of rope? But I'd like a disc chisel for plowing corn stalks, and I'd like to set this up for plowing bean stubble, get rid of these big twist shovels and put 2-inch spikes on it. That way you can plow a little bit deeper and not actually move as much dirt and leave a little bit more trash on top, which in bean stubble is not a big deal because there's not a whole lot of trash to begin with. And that's what a lot of guys do, is if they're chisel plowing bean stubble, they don't use these big old twist shanks. They'll just put the straight spikes on there. So that really all they're doing is breaking the ground up, but they're not stirring it a whole lot to keep their cover to prevent erosion. So and these points are technically also almost too big for this plow. The springs on them the springs on the shanks, they're working pretty hard to keep these bad boys in the ground. But the plow frame and the tractor and everything, it works pretty good, so it's not that they can't do it. But when I started plowing yesterday and this thing wouldn't go on the ground, it confused me for a minute, because it almost acted like there's something wrong with the tractor, because the 3-pointed just stopped going down and the plow would skim there along the ground, and then go a few feet and all of a sudden it'd bite and the plow would go in the ground. But then when I started turning around and going through the already chisel plowed spots, it'd go right in the ground. And then when I started paying attention to what it was doing, and I realized that it was going in the ground as soon as it fell off the end rows, it's like, oh, I think I got some compaction issues. I'm going to go ahead and get these things flipped real quick, and we'll walk out in the field and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. I got all these shovels flipped, so I'm going to walk out here real quick and see just how deep I'm plowing. This compaction definitely explains why the beans didn't yield for shit out here. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say that. They still made 50. Yeah, this field I couldn't actually. Yeah, and here's the result of that one crop divider being schmucked up. Long crop dividers and beans, or drill beans to begin with, are bean stompers, but you can tell every 13 feet. There. Seeing how bad this is chunking up out here, I can't believe they did as good as they did. But yeah, I'm ripping up. I mean, this is just nuts. The stuff I'm ripping up. I mean, look at that. That's friggin' ridiculous. Here's a good spot. I want the non-metric side. Oh, okay. These size metric. Wow, I'm actually kind of impressed. I'm getting all of a foot. Cause, yeah, cause you don't measure clear up to the top of the hump. But I'd say I'm somewhere between 11 and 12 inches in the ground. I'm really impressed. 120 horse to pull that. I was riding the uphill brake all the way across that hill and all the way up and down that hill, though. She was pulling hard. Anybody that piece of old field tile. We actually put a tile in this field. There's one that runs from the other side of the neighbor's garden there up to just the other side of that little ridge. There's a low spot we drain, comes down, and then somewhere in here somewhere there's another one that shoots off and ties in to a county drain that runs through my granddad's yard and over to a ditch on the other side of the cornfield. We actually need to run another one, because back when my great-grandfather still owned the whole farm, this part of this field was pasture for the barn, and supposedly, and my grandmother remembers it because she grew up on this farm until they sold it, there used to be a natural spring that ran somewhere through there, but nobody knows exactly where, because Grandma was, I think, only 5 or 6, something like that, when they sold the farm. But she does remember there being a spring, because they used to get drinking water out of it. But anyway, there used to be a spring there, and they tiled it shut. Well, it didn't do any good, because whenever you tile a spring shut, even though the tile is going to be the path of least resistance, that's not the way springs behave, and it just moved. And there, right there, about halfway between the pine trees and that rock right there, right on the edge of the field, there's a big wet spot. And we haven't had a substantial amount of rain here in almost 2 months, and I still sunk with the combine in that wet spot. And we were probably 5 years ago now, we replaced part of the county drain that went through Granddad's yard, and when we were digging it, we actually found where the spring was bubbling out of the ground into the trench where we were putting the tile in. So we brought another tee off of that and deadheaded it right at the edge of the field so we can get time to actually tile that corner right there. But what we need to do is actually probably at least 2 of them, one right along the edge, run right along the edge of the yard, and then one probably right about where that corner is all the way across. Put 2 tiles in, and that'll catch that spring. And if we put 2 of them in there, even if the spring moves, because the ground gets harder this way, so that means the spring would most likely naturally want to move that way. But if we put them 2 tiles in, they're close enough together, even if the spring moves, chances are one of them tiles is going to take care of the drainage from it. And that'll take care of that wet spot. So, I really can't, I honestly cannot believe I'm pulling 11 shanks 12 inches in the ground. I'm really impressed with that. Anybody that wants to badmouth 310 about how they're a bad motor, they need to watch that. And that ground is so hard, I can bring the tractor to a dead stop going downhill. That's hard. And I did get video of Chisel Plow. I was out there till about 9:30 last night, and I did get some video of chiseling in the dark. I just got to get it edited and put up, so